Look, we need some distraction.
And yes, we need lots of distraction.
Distraction. We need some inspiration.
Yes, we do.
We need some liberté. Some Titanique. I cannot do French, and especially I cannot do French Canadian. I can't do French Canadian. But let me tell you, somebody who can't do French Canadian. Look, when the music of Céline Dion makes sweet, sweet Canadian love with the 11-time Oscar-winning blockbuster film Titanic, you get Titanique. And it comes steaming into Broadway in Chicago's Broadway Playhouse at Water Tower Place starting March 25th in a co-production with Porchlight Music Theater. And joining us now is none other than Céline Dion herself. Okay, wait. It's actually the actor who is playing Céline Dion herself, Clare Kennedy McLaughlin. Clare, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Merci.
Welcome.
The heart will go on. I love Céline so very much. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
Can you tell us, okay, for a lot of people, they might not know, like, Titanique.
Yeah.
What the what?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the show and the role that you're, because, like, Céline Dion ain't in the movie.
Yeah, for sure. So Titanique is basically the story of the film Titanic, but as told through the lens of Céline Dion, because according to Céline Dion, she was actually there.
Of course.
It's her own, well, obviously, it is her own recounting of the events of the Titanic, and it's told in about 100 minutes, and the entire score is Céline Dion music.
I mean, sign me up right now. I'm like, come on. This, I mean, what a fun idea for a show. What girl, being cast as Céline Dion. Hey, congratulations. How are you feeling?
So much.
That's a lot.
I've kind of been like so excited since I found out in November that if I think about it too hard, I might like throw up. Like
Right.
that's kind of how I have felt about it.
Same, yeah.
When I was in the work carpool when I got the email and I immediately burst into tears and all my coworkers looked at me and they were like, "Oh my God, did somebody die?" And I'm like, "No, I got Céline Dion." And honestly, the excitement has only grown since then. I was like, maybe I'll get over it. Maybe I will, accept it as my reality. And every day I've gone to rehearsal, and it gets sweeter each and every day.
So Titanic, it's dealing with a historical tragedy, okay? And now you're, and you have to like balance it with like popular music. How do you balance the comedy with like the emotional weight of the material? Is that at all a challenge, or is it seamless for you?
It certainly can be a challenge. I think it's important to remember that, as we all know, Céline Dion is the queen of power ballads. And for that reason, her music really lends itself to such a tragic, true story. And then, of course, the really heartbreaking romantic story that is the Titanic film. What is so brilliant that the writers have done, Ty, Marla, and Connie, is that they have beautifully married both the tragedy of it, but also keeping it so fast-paced with the comedy. It's a show by and for the gays and for anybody that's ever loved the film Titanic and Céline Dion. And if you haven't loved either of them, have you been living under a rock? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you got the email and you burst into tears, and has just Céline been playing? Like, have you just been watching her like a hawk, like old videos or like YouTube clips or interviews? Like, have you been, as you've been approaching this work in the rehearsal room, how have you created your character of Céline Dion?
Oh, 100%. I have been like cyber stalking her and everything that has ever come out. I'm surprised like Homeland Security hasn't contacted me yet. Yeah, what's so interesting is that her performance style I find to be really unique and perfect for a musical theater production because she's so theatrical. She's such an energetic performer. She's very physical. She's also very emotional. She wears her heart on her sleeve in performance, but also she wears her heart on her sleeve in her interviews, which has made her such an interesting, celebrity and performer for fans to watch because she is so unique and, as she says, kooky, crazy, and quirky, and 100% uniquely herself. So it's so fun to embody somebody like that, or, attempt to embody somebody like that. And, it's definitely not, while the musical itself is a parody of the movie, it's definitely not supposed to be a parody of Céline herself. It's definitely like a fan celebration of her and everything that she has done and brought to, millions of people over, however many decades. It's definitely a celebration of her heart, and just the individual that she is.
Yeah, well, her heart will go on,
It will, and it has.
And it has. Now, is there, you are a fellow NU Wildcat. Go Cats.
Yes, go Cats.
So, I'm kind of going back to thinking of, preparing when you're working on creating a role, and again, something that is like a complete celebration. But at the same time, it is a parody, so it's a little bit larger than life. Has there been a moment, like a gesture or a body posture, or even going back to acting class, like an animal that really helped that really helped you kind of oh, I got this. Is it the pounding of the chest that Céline is so known for? Or is it something, or like you were saying, her quirky French Canadian? Is there something that you found that's the key that you key in?
Oh, 100%. After watching hours and hours of concert footage, she loves a wide stance. So definitely a wide, strong stance. She also always performs in stilettos, which, as somebody who wears stilettos, is insane and remarkable. So she's kind of got that, ever in a heel, strong power pose, shoulders back, as our choreographer Casey says, a very pelvis forward woman, almost a little bit masculine in that way. And definitely the pounding the chest, the big, sharp arm movements, those definitely help me drop in, if you will, into Céline.
Into Céline. What has been your biggest challenge so far? I mean, I can only imagine, vocally, it's got to be challenging. That's got to be a workout. What have you been discovering in the rehearsal process?
I think, going into it, I was okay, I studied French for very many years, middle school, high school, whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, but it's not the French accent that I know because it's Quebecois. It's French Canadian. It's totally different. So definitely I was worried about the accent work. Also because she's lived in the U.S. for so long, she's a woman of the world. Her accent is super specific. So it's not even just Quebecois dialect. So I thought that was going to be the hardest part. But there have been so many phenomenal actresses that have played Céline before me that have nailed it. And there's a whole archive of footage to base that on, as well as, of course, the many, many interviews of herself. But honestly, the biggest challenge, I think, is definitely the script is so amazing. It's so funny. The show is so fast-paced, but it's remembering to preserve the heart of it all.
Yeah.
It can be easy just to read the script as a comedy full of gags and slapstick type material. But remembering that the Titanic, it's iconic not because it was a slapstick movie. It certainly wasn't. It's iconic because it has a lot of heart and it means something different to everybody that's seen it. So, yeah, preserving the authenticity and of the narrative, I think, has been a real balancing act.
I love that.
Claire, were there any particular moments or scenes in the show that you found extra rewarding to perform?
My heart will go on. I know that's probably the easy answer, but during our first run through, and, we had worked the scene before it, the scene after it, that whole thing. During our first run-through, actually a couple of days ago, I was doing the couple of lines into the start of the song, and I immediately, and this had never happened before, I started getting really choked up. Like I really was Céline Dion and like I really was on the Titanic. Wow. The Titanique, excuse me.
Right.
But it really is emotional, and it is a legitimate tragedy. And it's nice that the show is built in a way that it works really quickly, and the comedy is so well paced. But by the time you get to My Heart Will Go On at the very end, it's like a release for both the actors and the audience, and everybody can let out their breath and is ready to feel something completely different. And so to do that, to get it right, it felt amazing, and I think that's going to be a pretty hard part of the show for me to top in terms of favorite parts of the show.
Makes
for
sense.
Sure.
Makes sense. Thank you for answering
Makes total
that.
sense.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You're definitely in great hands with Porchlight Music Theater. They are such a fabulous
They know how to do a
company.
musical.
They do incredible work, and they have partnered up with Broadway in Chicago for Titanique. One of the things that I am particularly excited about, which is a rarity with Broadway in Chicago, is that it is an all Chicago cast. But we're huge fans of the Chicago art scenes. I'm a huge fan of the Chicago theater community. What is it about the Chicago theater community that makes it so special in your eyes?
First of all, totally agree. Love that it's an all Chicago cast.
Right.
I think a lot of times local theaters, kind of have the itch to cast somebody from out of town, or we need a name, or we need somebody with a credit. But with this show, I think audiences will see, and hopefully other performing houses will see as well, that we've got all the talent that we need right here.
Oh, 100%.
And additionally, Chicago audiences love to see people that they can follow their careers through around the city.
Yep.
But Chicago, of course, it's the second city, right? It's the birthplace of improv. And Titanique so lends itself to improv. I mean, my castmate, Rob Lindley, plays Ruth Rose's mother. He has this big monologue in the middle of the show, most of which he wrote himself. But every time he does it, the entire team is on the edge of their seats, waiting to see what he'll do. And by the end of it, 7 minutes later, we're all on the floor, laughing into tears.
Oh, yeah.
And see, it's a city that loves improv, loves comedy, and who doesn't love a fierce Céline Dion belt? I mean,
right?
that's cross-cultural. That's
Right,
not
it
just a
is.
Chicago thing.
It is cross-cultural. It is universal.
Yeah, I think, and we also bring a special brand of, there's a couple of rewrites that make it local, and I think Chicagoans will really, really enjoy to see this completely new vision, by the way, of the show itself. New design, both in costumes and in set. It's Titanic like it hasn't been seen before in its other productions.
Oh, I love
New York is where was it currently there, or I knew it played there previously?
I believe it currently has productions off Broadway, in the West End, and in Australia. They're opening one in Paris in the next couple of months, I believe. And they had a production in Canada, I believe, last year for several months. Yeah.
Well, it's a very exciting. We can get a little sneak peek. There's an event at Sidetrack tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, there sure is. I will be there, as well as my castmates, Adam Thane and Maya Rowe, who play Jack and Rose, respectively. We'll also be there with our director, Ty Blue, who is also one of the original writers of the show, as well as the Porchlight creative team. And we'll be singing some songs and answering some questions and hanging out. So if you're free tomorrow, come spend St. Patrick's Day with us in the cast of Titanique.
What time does that kick off tomorrow at Sidetrack?
I believe the event kicks off at 6:30, but we do have two performances. So one will be around the 6:30 mark, and then later on we will be singing the songs again at about 10 p.m.
Oh, so you actually are going to be sticking around for all the Musical Monday madness that happens.
Well, we'll be coming back. We're gonna have a little dinner break,
gotcha.
and then we'll be around. But we've
get energized.
We've got day one of tech rehearsal the next day, so,
Wowza. Oh,
man.
man.
Keep up your strength.
Not trying to go too hard.
Look, this is so exciting, just because, again, it is an all-Chicago cast of featuring the music of arguably one of the best vocalists of our times. You know, I also think that any Céline Dion song would make a good Meatloaf song, and any Meatloaf song would make a great Céline Dion song. They are interchangeable in terms of style, overblow, but it's so great.
Never thought about it that way,
The Chicago
Scott.
cast is like, I know Rob Lindley and I know Adam Thane. Those two are the most wrong human beings on the planet.
Yes,
So
they
you know
are.
you're
Yes,
in
they
for
are.
like hilarity and a great time, and most certainly a mistake. And also bad news, the ship goes down. But
Don't wreck it for us, Scott.
it's already been wrecked by an iceberg. Listen, don't miss Titanique, presented by Broadway in Chicago and Porchlight Music Theater, running March 25th through May 18th at the Broadway Playhouse at Water Tower Place. For tickets, go to BroadwayInChicago.com. And if you want a little sneak peek, head over to Sidetrack tomorrow around 6 o'clock and get a good seat for a little sneaky peek. Claire, Kennedy, McLaughlin, thank you so much for joining us. Break all the legs and just go and have the time of your life.
We know you will.
Thank you so much for having me, y'all. Come on out. We can't wait to see you.
All right.
All right. See you then. Thank you.
Wherever you are. There we are, Claire. Break all the legs and drink a lot of water. Hydrate. And wear
Thank
those
you,
heels.
Claire.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.